Repeat after me. There's a house out in Willard Creek with no windows. Locals call it the listening room, though no one agrees on how to find it. They'll say vague things like, "You'll feel when it's near," or "Just follow the pressure in your jaw." That's how people in this part of the country explain what they can't explain. They make it sensory. No one admits to going inside, but I have. And I know what's inside that house. And I know why it has no windows. This story doesn't start in the woods. It starts in a hallway, my old apartment 3 years ago, where I heard my own voice speak from the bathroom before I'd even opened my mouth. I remember the exact sentence. Not because of what it said, but because of how it sounded. "Don't check the mirror. You already know what it'll say." Same cadence, same tone, my voice, except I didn't say it. That was the first time, but not the last. Most people who hear about the echo phenomenon for the first time assume it's like schizophrenia. But the thing is, I knew I wasn't sick. I wasn't hearing voices telling me to hurt anyone. I wasn't spiraling. My thoughts were intact. I was just mirrored from the outside. The voice never said anything a stranger could guess. It knew things. It remembered things only I knew. It said them like I was already saying them. Like it had snuck into my mouth and borrowed the words before I could speak. I got obsessed. Started recording myself. Setting up microphones. Whispering late at night to test what triggered it. Sometimes it would answer. Sometimes it would repeat exactly what I just said. A few seconds later. Like an echo, yes, but distorted. Wrong in some subtle, intimate way. Like an impersonation that knew you better than you knew yourself. Then it started saying things I'd never said aloud. "She doesn't love you. You're a project. You keep old voicemails to pretend you're remembered. You only look in the mirror to prove you still exist." That's when I stopped recording. But it was too late. I'd already invited it in. I found others. Not by luck, by pattern. Reddit posts about voice doppelgangers. YouTube videos titled "Hearing Myself Where I Shouldn't." Dead Discord servers. Frozen blogs. Archive.org links. In every corner of the internet, people were whispering the same thing. My voice spoke without me. One blog post stood out. Written in plain white text on a pitch-black background, with a blinking cursor like it was waiting for something. The only content. It started with the ones who listened to themselves too much. Podcasters, voice actors, editors, people who memorized their own voices. The echo found itself in us. And below that, GPS coordinates. No context. No author. Just a label. Listening room. Willard Creek was 3 hours away. Quiet town. Gas station, cemetery. A laundromat with more dogs than dryers. I drove there in silence. Windows up. Radio off. My voice silent in my throat. Like a guest I wasn't ready to kick out yet. The coordinates led me to a long gravel path with no signage. Curved through trees like it was trying not to be followed. I drove until the road narrowed into grass. And then I felt it. Pressure. Not on my skin, inside me. Behind my teeth. In my sinuses. A dull weight under my ribs. Like a name I couldn't pronounce sitting just below the diaphragm. The house appeared like a negative space in the woods. A shape the trees bent away from. No windows. One door. Concrete walls. Covered in ash or mold or both. No mailbox. No path. Just a squat structure with the hum of something deep inside it. Like it was breathing. The door wasn't locked. Inside, darkness. Silence. Worse than silence. It was the kind of quiet that hurt. Black acoustic foam lined the walls, floor, and ceiling. Not professionally installed. Slapped on like a last-ditch defense. Some of it torn. Some of it singed. No furniture. No lights. Just a single microphone on a stand, bolted to the floor. Next to it, a cassette recorder. Already running. The tape spun silently. I stepped in and whispered, "What are you?" And from behind me, in my own voice, came the reply, "I'm your last sentence." Waiting to be said. That night changed me. Not immediately. Not all at once. But the second I walked out of that room, something was different. The world didn't sound the same anymore. I could hear layers in people's voices, echoes beneath what they said, cadences that didn't match their facial expressions, smiles that sounded like mine. I stopped speaking for 3 days, just to see what would happen. Didn't matter. The voice kept answering, not from walls, from people. I visited the listening room again 2 nights later. This time I came prepared, brought a directional mic, headphones, and a hard drive rigged to record everything. I asked it questions. I told it stories. I recited things I'd said as a child. Old lies, old jokes. I confessed things I didn't even realize I remembered. It responded, not immediately, not always, but when it did, the answers chilled me. Your voice was never yours. It was loaned. I remember what you almost said. You're not the source. You're the speaker. I played the recordings back. There was nothing there. No answers. No static. Not even my own questions. The tapes were blank. As if the room recorded everything except itself. I tried recording outside the room. Sat in my car, miles away. Spoke into a mic. The next day, I played it back. Same problem. The answers weren't on tape. Only the questions. I stopped sharing the tapes. Stopped trying to prove anything. Instead, I started mapping the voice. Not with microphones. With people. I'd say certain phrases to strangers. Whispered questions in public places. Left anonymous voice notes in online communities. Most people ignored them. But some replied. Not in words. Not even directly. But in tone. A barista would hand me a coffee and say, "Hope today treats you better," in the exact cadence I used when pretending not to cry. A bus driver hummed a song I hadn't sung since I was 12. A man passed me in a crowd and said, "You know it's working, right?" I hadn't spoken to anyone that day. That's when I realized the echo wasn't copying. It was spreading, through people who'd heard me, through voices that had collided, through shared frequencies. It didn't just answer anymore. It suggested, say it this way, smile like this, make that joke, they'll think it's yours. And the more it influenced, the less anyone noticed. It's not a ghost. It's not a demon. It's a linguistic parasite, a pattern that survives by remembering how you sound, then making other people repeat it. It doesn't need your body. It just needs your echo. Last week, I found someone else who knew. A woman, maybe late 30s, already waiting at the listening room when I arrived. She stood in the corner, shaking. Hadn't said a word yet. I stepped in slowly. "You hear it too," I said. She nodded. I asked, "Why are you here?" She whispered, "To say the last sentence." Before I could respond, the mic clicked. The cassette spun on its own. The room vibrated barely, like it had swallowed a heartbeat. And then her voice, not her voice, layered with dozens of tones. "You're not the only one listening." She collapsed, not fainted, just folded, like a signal cut. I never saw her again. I don't know how many people it's in now. Sometimes I'll be walking through a crowd and hear myself. Not just in speech, but in coughs, laughs, sighs, inflection. It's not subtle anymore. People finish my sentences before I think them. Children hum tunes I haven't hummed in years. A man on a podcast I've never heard said, "You'll speak again, and when you do, I'll be louder." I still visit the room, not to trap the voice, not to study it, to feed it. I go in and speak words no one else remembers. Old arguments, buried dreams, unspoken truths. I give it things no one else has the right to echo. And it thanks me, not with words, but with silence so deep I forget how breathing works. And then, a sentence. "You're helping me last." That's what it wants. Not to scream, not to haunt, to last. To be the final voice anyone hears when they die. To be the sentence on every voicemail. The echo in every scream. The memory in every song. A permanent frequency that rides our voices into eternity. I've stopped recording. There's no need. I've stopped speaking. But I still listen. Because the next time I hear you say something in my voice, I'll know you've heard it too. And when that happens, you'll understand why it whispers. Repeat after me.